Here we are. I'm the Villain Season 2 is finally here. After Cheng Xiaoyu transferred to the Shadow King, he encountered a mutation when he first entered the dungeon. The originally C-level dungeon was instantly transformed into an E-level red dungeon, which not only has a large number of terrifying monsters, but also ice fairies with intelligence no less than humans. And Cheng Xiaoyu's Shadow Legion will also make its debut in this dungeon. Just now, after Cheng Xiaoyu completed the transformation and had just laid down to rest for a moment, his sister called him. It turned out that today was the day for the teacher's symposium at her school. So Cheng Xiaoyu immediately came to the school. Seeing Cheng Xiaoyu, who became even more handsome, her sister was also a little skeptical. What exactly has a person gone through to have such a big change? Cheng Xiaoyu's handsome appearance naturally attracted the attention of other students. Seeing this, my sister couldn't help teasing him, asking Cheng Xiaoyu if he wanted her to introduce a girlfriend to him. Cheng Xiaoyu was helpless. After teaching his sister a lesson, he came to the teacher's office. Because my sister not only has excellent academic performance, but also a role model for all students in the school, the teacher had nothing to criticize about her. The teacher asked Cheng Xiaoyu if his sister also awakened her ability in the future, would he let her be a hunter? Of course, Cheng Xiaoyu said no. After all, as a hunter, he knows the dangers in the dungeon very well. He naturally wouldn't let his sister take risks. Hearing this answer, the teacher also asked Cheng Xiaoyu for a favor, to persuade a student who has dropped out of school to become a hunter, to persuade him to give up being a hunter and go back to school. And Cheng Xiaoyu agreed to do this, because this girl named Han Songyi was Cheng Xiaoyu and her friend. So Cheng Xiaoyu couldn't just sit back and watch. However, after learning that the other party's level was only 1, Cheng Xiaoyu didn't persuade him to give up. Instead, he contacted the Hunter Association on the pretext of observation and took Han Songyi to a C-level dungeon, because Cheng Xiaoyu knew very well, such a child who has never seen the world, if only relying on persuasion, it's hard to make him give up. Cheng Xiaoyu thought, let him see the cruel reality of the dungeon with his own eyes, to dispel his idea of becoming a hunter. However, what Cheng Xiaoyu didn't expect was that the leader of this team was an A-class hunter, and there were 5 B-class hunters. For a C-level dungeon, the combat power is obviously excessive, although it was completely meaningless for education. But since they came, there was no reason to quit. Jieja, Cheng Xiaoyu led Han Songyi into the dungeon, but the moment they entered, Cheng Xiaoyu suddenly felt an ominous sense of abnormality. Sure enough, the next moment a sudden change occurred. The originally C-level dungeon suddenly turned into a red A-level dungeon, and Cheng Xiaoyu knew very well what the red door meant. He quickly turned around and prepared to leave with Han Songyi, but it was too late. In the end, he and everyone were sucked into the portal. When Cheng Xiaoyu came to his senses, they had already appeared in a snowy field. And this is the red portal, is different from other portals. Once you step in, you will enter a special dungeon completely disconnected from the outside. To get out, you can only defeat the boss inside, or wait for the seal to be lifted, and there will be monsters far beyond the value. But just as Han Songyi wanted to ask something, an arrow suddenly shot. The next second, a hunter fell to the ground, with a soldier's sword stuck in his face. Han Songyi was protected by Cheng Xiaoyu, survived. Coincidentally, was also seen by a B-class hunter, and the person who attacked them was the ice fairy with intelligence no lower than humans. But because of the distance, they couldn't fight back. After making a provocative gesture, and turned around and left. At this time, the captain Jinja also spoke up. He said that in such a difficult dungeon, even he, an A-class hunter, it's hard to lead everyone to leave alive. So he decided to take all the B-class hunters and others to split up. To put it bluntly, he was afraid that these D-class hunters would hold him back. Cheng Xiaoyu, who was only level 1 on the surface, naturally was abandoned by Jinja. But at this moment, the female B-class hunter turned to Cheng Xiaoyu's team, because she just noticed that when the ice demon attacked, Jinja didn't even notice those 2 arrows. But Cheng Xiaoyu actually caught the sword with his hand, so his intuition told him that Cheng Xiaoyu was definitely not level 1, and even stronger than Jinja. Then Jinja led his team to the mainland, while Cheng Xiaoyu led his people into the forest. Soon, Jinja identified the white bear's presence. They identified that there were polar bears here. But before he finished speaking, several polar bears appeared in front of them. Although the polar bear was huge, but as a first-class hunter, Jinja was not afraid at all. He easily killed a polar bear. And, while Jinja was fighting with the remaining 2 polar bears, Cheng Xiaoyu noticed the dense scratches on the surrounding trees. Judging from the number, it was obvious that the entire forest was the territory of ice bears. The female hunter suggested to leave the forest immediately, but Cheng Xiaoyu felt that the more they should go into the forest, because encountering bears without wisdom, it's better than encountering the intelligent ice demon. Hearing this, the female hunter also thought it made sense, so she agreed. Then, Cheng Xiaoyu took out several cotton coats from the props bar and handed them to them. Seeing this, they were all very surprised, because even the top hunters can only summon 2 or 3 low-level props. Cheng Xiaoyu took out so many lightly, but despite their surprise, at least they didn't have to worry about freezing to death. And Han Songyi became more curious about Cheng Xiaoyu's identity. Hearing this, Cheng Xiaoyu just touched his head, telling him not to ask too much. Just need to know that he will take them out. He also hoped that others not to ask him any questions. As soon as he finished speaking, several polar bears also came to them. Seeing the panicked people, Cheng Xiaoyu just waved his hand, telling them to calm down. Then he changed his title to Wolf Slayer, because this title can increase the ability value by 40%. On the other side, outside the portal, the president of the White Tiger Guild was knocking on the portal, but unfortunately, the portal was completely sealed. Rescuing them was completely impossible. Now, he could only pray that the people inside could survive. And it was at this time, Huang Dongshu, who had returned to China, also came. And he came to find Cheng Xiaoyu, to avenge his brother Huang Dongshu. He knew very well his brother's death was related to Cheng Xiaoyu. And after learning that Cheng Xiaoyu was imprisoned in this underground city, Huang Dongshu felt that his trip was in vain, because he thought Cheng Xiaoyu couldn't come out alive. But he didn't know that Cheng Xiaoyu's current strength has already exceeded his imagination. With just one hand, Cheng Xiaoyu killed all the giant bears. After settling the others, Cheng Xiaoyu, he came to the polar bear's nest alone. Facing the large number of polar bears, Cheng Xiaoyu, he also summoned his shadow army for the first time. Then Cheng Xiaoyu faced the Shadow Legion. He gave his first order, which was to kill all the white bears in front of him. With the close cooperation of the Shadow Legion, the number of white bears is also shrinking sharply. But Cheng Xiaoyu's shadow army did not lose a single soldier. Yinwei, these shadow soldiers were originally summoned by Cheng Xiaoyu. Cheng Xiaoyu only needs to spend a little magic power. He can bring them back to life. However, while Cheng Xiaoyu was enjoying the experience, the leader of the polar bears also came out. With just a roar, he killed all of Cheng Xiaoyu's shadow soldiers. And Cheng Xiaoyu's magic power was instantly exhausted. But Cheng Xiaoyu was not panicked at all, because his general, Yeglet, hadn't made a move yet. Seeing the smooth combo of Yigiliet, Cheng Xiaoyu couldn't help but feel a little scared. If Yigiliet hadn't shown chivalry, he had used his sword to fight against him at the beginning, he probably wouldn't be alive now. And even if it was himself now, he probably wouldn't be a match for Yeglet either. On the other hand, the Awakening team was not so lucky, although the polar bear doesn't pose a threat to them. But the intelligent ice demon is different. Meanwhile, on the other side, after Cheng Xiaoyu defeated the army of polar bears, just by saying stand up, made all the polar bears, including the Bear King, all became members of his shadow army. Seeing this, Cheng Xiaoyu also showed a satisfied smile. Meanwhile, Jinja, who escaped from the ice demon, also found Cheng Xiaoyu's team's camp. Looking at them, the cotton-padded clothes and food on them, and their attitudes as if they were on vacation, Jinja, he vented his anger on them. If his hands hadn't been frozen, if there was food to fill his stomach, he wouldn't have been beaten up by those ice demons. He was about to kill them directly. Fortunately, Cheng Xiaoyu also came back at this time. He directly gave Jiechu a headshot, which knocked Jinzha unconscious. At the same time, Cheng Xiaoyu also keenly sensed the danger. Then he turned around and made the invisible ice demon show its true form. Obviously, the reason why these ice demons didn't kill Jinzha was to let him lead them to Cheng Xiaoyu and others. Seeing Cheng Xiaoyu could sense them, he couldn't help but sigh. There are really useful talents among the trash. Cheng Xiaoyu also replied with a few words. Seeing Cheng Xiaoyu could communicate with the ice demon, everyone, including the ice demon king, was stunned. But Cheng Xiaoyu knew very well. It was because of the system, and the reason why the ice demon king came. Because one of the ice demons who just chased them told him that there was a master among the humans. Seeing Cheng Xiaoyu's strength, the ice demon king was instantly interested. Then Cheng Xiaoyu directly slashed at him. After this brief exchange, Cheng Xiaoyu realized that he was no match for the ice demon king. And the ice demon king became more and more interested in Cheng Xiaoyu. He was curious that he was not human, why he wants to stay with humans. But Cheng Xiaoyu didn't understand what the other was saying. Seeing this, the ice demon king pointed to his ears. When they see humans, a command would come to their ears, telling them to kill the human in front of them. But when facing Cheng Xiaoyu, they didn't hear this command. That's why he said Cheng Xiaoyu was not human. When Cheng Xiaoyu also understood that it was because of the system, then the ice demon king also made a suggestion. Cheng Xiaoyu should hand over the human behind him. They would let him go. But Cheng Xiaoyu ignored it. Instead, he questioned who the other party was and why he was against humans. However, before the ice demon king could answer, his body seemed to malfunction and repeated the previous proposal again. Seeing this, Cheng Xiaoyu also understood. Obviously, the system where someone was interfering. So he didn't say anything more and directly rejected the ice demon king's proposal. When Yen was also confused. He didn't understand how Cheng Xiaoyu, who was outnumbered, how he dared to refuse him. When Cheng Xiaoyu smiled, he immediately summoned his shadow army. Seeing the black ice and black bears around, everyone was shocked. They didn't understand how Cheng Xiaoyu could have such a terrifying skill. But the ice demon king was not panicked, and then commanded the ice demon army to charge over. And Cheng Xiaoyu did the same. So a great battle broke out instantly. Seeing that they couldn't help here, the other three turned around and prepared to leave. Seeing this, the ice demon also aimed his bow at them. But Cheng Xiaoyu wouldn't let them die like this. He flashed over and directly killed them. And Cheng Xiaoyu can easily kill the ice demon. The ice king was like a nobody on the battlefield. Ordinary soldiers couldn't stop him at all. In the blink of an eye, the ice king arrived at Cheng Xiaoyu's side. After a brief exchange, Cheng Xiaoyu also understood that even if he and Yeglet joined forces, they may not be the opponent of the ice demon king. Now he needs more combat power. At this moment, the ice demon king also asked Cheng Xiaoyu's name, and then they started to fight. After several consecutive probing moves, the ice demon king decided to use all his strength. But hearing this, Cheng Xiaoyu laughed. The next second, a fireball fell from the sky, which directly hit the ice demon king's head. And it was the shadow mage who did it. Of course, Cheng Xiaoyu knew that this couldn't hurt the ice demon king. At this moment, Jinzha also woke up. After realizing that he was knocked out by Cheng Xiaoyu, he also angrily rushed towards Cheng Xiaoyu with his sword. And the ice demon king also climbed out of the pit and charged towards Cheng Xiaoyu again. Seeing himself being attacked from both sides, Cheng Xiaoyu was not panicked, because he had already guessed that Jinzha would retaliate. He summoned Yeglet. He summoned Yeglet to use his sword to raise snowflakes, to block the ice demon king's sight, and then directly killed Jinzha with the sword. The reason why Cheng Xiaoyu did this, and was to make Jinzha his shadow soldier. As Cheng Xiaoyu said stand up, Jinzha also transformed into a soldier, to block the ice demon king's attack for Cheng Xiaoyu. Then after renaming Jinzha as Ein, Ayan also used a taunt roar. He forcibly took the ice demon's hatred, making him only attack himself. But Ayan's movements were too slow, and couldn't touch the ice queen at all. The ice queen couldn't help mocking Cheng Xiaoyu, asking Cheng Xiaoyu and Yi Juliet to join in. Facing this request, Cheng Xiaoyu certainly would not refuse. Then the three of them started a big melee. AIN. Under the joint attack of the three, Cheng Xiaoyu successfully seized the flaw and stabbed the Ice Demon King with a knife. But what surprised Cheng Xiaoyu was that the Ice Demon King could still avoid the vital point. In response, Cheng Xiaoyu had to admire the Ice Demon King. Hearing this, the Ice Demon King was a little arrogant. But Cheng Xiaoyu advised the Ice Demon King to look around. When the Ice Demon King looked back, he found that his people had been killed by the Shadow Soldiers. Seeing this, the Ice Demon King was completely angry. Then he rushed towards Cheng Xiaoyu again, and Cheng Xiaoyu threw a dagger at him. Then he controlled the dagger to turn around again and stabbed back. At the moment when the Ice Demon King parried, Cheng Xiaoyu summoned Ain and asked him to hold the Ice Demon King tightly. Then the Shadow Mage also added fire magic. Even with such an attack, still failed to kill the Ice Demon King, and even made the Ice King enter a berserk state. When he threatened to kill everyone, invisible Cheng Xiaoyu, he directly stabbed him in the waist. And after the Ice Demon King's fall, Cheng Xiaoyu's level also increased again. However, what Cheng Xiaoyu didn't expect was that Ain, this idiot, began to whip the corpse of the Ice Demon King. So Cheng Xiaoyu quickly stopped him and warned him to restrain his emotions in the future. Meanwhile, Huang Dongshu, who waited for 3 days outside the portal, was ready to leave. Although he thought Cheng Xiaoyu would definitely not come back alive, he still had a question. That is, Cheng Xiaoyu was not from the White Tiger Guild. Why would he act with the White Tiger Guild? Yanwen also lowered his head and said he and Cheng Xiaoyu were acquaintances, so he allowed him to observe. Yanwen's words made Huang Dongshu rush over and grab the uncle, and thought he was covering for Cheng Xiaoyu. But by LV Hao, as the president of the White Tiger Guild, how could he let him bully his subordinates? He directly fought with Huang Dongshu. If two S-class hunters fighting here, the city would definitely suffer a lot of losses. So, the Hunter Association had to step in to stop them, and assured Huang Dongshu that Cheng Xiaoyu was definitely a first-class hunter. And Huang Dongshu also knew in his heart, the guy who killed his younger brother must be the rich second-generation Lu Chenhao. In fact, he just wanted to find an excuse to provoke Biovheo. At this time, Huang Dongshu also received a text message, and then turned around and left here. Shortly after he left, the color of the portal changed back. Then Cheng Xiaoyu let everyone out. Then the portal also closed. Seeing only 4 people came out, Biovheo was also confused. He didn't understand why only a few low-level hunters came back. But Jinja, a level 1 hunter, didn't come back. So he quickly stopped Cheng Xiaoyu, who was about to leave, and wanted to ask him some questions. However, Cheng Xiaoyu pushed him away and asked him to ask his guild members. But Biovheo still persisted, saying that 6 members of their guild were missing. Shouldn't you give an explanation? But Cheng Xiaoyu told him that he had also saved 2 of your people. Shouldn't you thank me? These 2 sentences left Biovheo speechless, so he could only helplessly let Cheng Xiaoyu leave. Meanwhile, he also vaguely sensed Cheng Xiaoyu's strength. After Cheng Xiaoyu left, Biovheo also gave the uncle an order, asking him to do everything possible to pull Cheng Xiaoyu into their guild. After Cheng Xiaoyu sent Han Songyi home, he thought he would give up being a hunter, but unexpectedly, he said a bunch of inexplicable words. Obviously, he had fallen in love with Cheng Xiaoyu, but Cheng Xiaoyu didn't notice it. After leaving, he also took out the short knife of the Ice Demon King. And this was the only thing worth mentioning this time. As for the Ice Demon King's soul, whether it was because his level was too high, Cheng Xiaoyu failed to extract it even with 3 chances. The next day, Lu Chenhao, dressed in luxurious equipment, found Cheng Xiaoyu. However, Cheng Xiaoyu asked him to pick up someone on the way, and this person was Han Songyi. Seeing their relationship, just like a couple in love, Lu Chenhao was completely dumbfounded, so he had to remind Cheng Xiaoyu. Then Cheng Xiaoyu followed Lu Chenhao to a C-class dungeon to lead Lu Chenhao to clear the 19th dungeon, to help him complete the task given by his father. In this way, Lu Chenhao can take over his guild. With Cheng Xiaoyu's Shadow Legion, Lu Chenhao also completed the task easily. and smoothly took over the guild from his father. However, his father had a request, that is to bring Cheng Xiaoyu into the guild. On the other hand, Cheng Xiaoyu used traveling as an excuse to say goodbye to his sister, and came to the gate of the demon tower, and used the key dropped by the three-headed dog of hell to open the door of the demon tower. After entering the demon tower, Cheng Xiaoyu also received a mission, which requires him to collect 10,000 demon souls to leave here. Although this number seems a lot, but in order to make the water of life, even if it were 100,000, Cheng Xiaoyu would kill them. Not to mention he has the Shadow Legion. This number is nothing for Cheng Xiaoyu, is completely a piece of cake. Meanwhile, in the US, arrested a hunter named Cheng Rihan, but because there is no one who can speak Japanese here, they called Huang Dongshu back, and prepared to let him interrogate Cheng Rihan himself. Meanwhile, Cheng Xiaoyu has already killed the demons in front of him, but unfortunately the souls of these demons couldn't be extracted. Then, Cheng Xiaoyu also obtained the certificate to go to the next floor, because it was too far from the entrance. In order to save his energy, he directly summoned the Bear King as his mount. But at this moment, a group of demons appeared in front of him again. But the Bear King was not afraid at all. He directly charged into the demon group. Seeing the King Bear ramming like a tank, Cheng Xiaoyu also named it Tank. In this way, Cheng Xiaoyu kept climbing up the demon tower, and the demons' levels are getting higher and higher. But after reaching the 25th floor, the demon's level was only at B level, which was completely crushed for Cheng Xiaoyu. Soon, Cheng Xiaoyu collected 10,000 demon souls, and came to the 50th floor. He encountered the first boss that had appeared so far. Seeing the soldiers in front of the boss, Cheng Xiaoyu also decisively summoned his shadow army. Then the soldiers of both sides fought together. But Cheng Xiaoyu found that the boss sat on the throne motionless. Just as Cheng Xiaoyu was about to take the initiative, the boss's figure suddenly flashed, and in the blink of an eye, it appeared behind Cheng Xiaoyu. The power of this attack surprised Cheng Xiaoyu. He would have such power. It seems that the level increase has made him stronger. At this time, the boss, who was beaten away, suddenly roared and activated his rage skill, doubling all his stats, and then quickly rushed towards Cheng Xiaoyu. Seeing this, Cheng Xiaoyu quickly asked Ian to throw the shield over and blocked the boss's attack at the critical moment. However, the boss's attack speed was incredibly fast. The boss's uninterrupted attacks, which made Cheng Xiaoyu a little breathless. So Cheng Xiaoyu stopped defending. After using the shield to interrupt the boss's attack, he dodged to the boss's back. But just as he thought he was about to succeed, which Cheng Xiaoyu never expected, the boss's huge body could be so agile. In this case, to hit the boss's vulnerable head is even more difficult. To defeat the boss, he must first find a way to seal the boss's strange speed. Soon, Cheng Xiaoyu came up with a solution. He ran to a nearby tall building, because he knew very well, although the fat man is fast, but his body is too big, so he would definitely not be able to stop by inertia. In this way, after Cheng Xiaoyu defeated the boss, he also obtained a fragment of the world tree, which is one of the materials for making life water. Meanwhile, Huang Dongshu, who returned to the Dark Country, began to interrogate Cheng Rihang. And after seeing Cheng Rihang's name, Huang Dongshu suddenly had a guess. As Cheng Rihang finished speaking, he sensed Huang Dongshu's murderous intent. Huang Dongshu didn't hide it, and told Cheng Rihang his son was already dead. So as a father, since you've fallen into my hands, then you don't want to live. Hearing this, Cheng Rihang's eyes became sharp. On the other hand, Cheng Xiaoyu also reached the 75th floor, and met a boss again. But what appeared in front of the boss? Only an army of shadows appeared. As for Cheng Xiaoyu, had already arrived behind the boss. The boss looked at Cheng Xiaoyu, who stood behind him. Cheng Xiaoyu standing behind him, only endless despair in his eyes. After killing the boss, the entrance to the next floor opened. But Cheng Xiaoyu had run out of food, so he decided to stop here for the time being. Then he counted his gains. He got an earring from the boss of the samurai lair. The skeleton just dropped a necklace, and these two pieces happen to are a set, but currently one piece is missing. Based on this inference, This equipment is likely to be dropped by the final boss. In addition, there is also a ruby that increases magic attack. But unfortunately, it's useless to Chung Xiaoyu. Then, Chung Xiaoyu opened the treasure chest he got from leveling up. And he got another key as expected. But the information shows that it's all question marks. So Chung Xiaoyu had to put it away temporarily. As for the materials for the life water, Chung Xiaoyu has collected 2 of them. He only needs 1 more to save his mother. But currently, Chung Xiaoyu can only wait for the next time. On the other hand, there was a fire in the US. And this, which was caused by Huang Dongshu and Chung Rihang. After coming out of the Demon Tower, Chung Xiaoyu is only 1 material away from. He only needs 1 more. So, to get the last ingredient without any risk, Chung Xiaoyu also decided to make sufficient preparations. But the only problem at the moment is that, except for the Demon Castle, he has no other way to gain experience. Externally, he is only a lowest level 1 hunter. He has no access to higher level dungeons. So only by becoming a higher level hunter can he continue to level up alone. So the next morning, Chung Xiaoyu came to the Hunter Association. And this scene was also reported by the younger brother of the White Tiger Guild to the president Bilvheo. Soon it was Chung Xiaoyu's turn to identify his level. Chung Xiaoyu had just put his hand on the crystal. The lady who tested his level was surprised to find that Chung Xiaoyu's test result showed an error. At first, the young lady thought it was a malfunction of the machine, so she called the supervisor over. However, after the supervisor saw the error code, he was instantly stunned, because this was not a mechanical failure, but it means that it cannot be identified. That is to say, Chung Xiaoyu's magic power exceeded the machine's identification limit. And this also means that Chung Xiaoyu, the 10th S-class hunter in this country. Meanwhile, President Cui Zhongyin of the Hunters Guild is discussing with Wu Zhenjia of the Hunter Association, discussing the progress of the ant-eating research. He suddenly heard a commotion coming from the hall, so they decided to go and see. After learning that a new S-class hunter had just been identified, Cui Zhongyin also decided to bring Chung Xiaoyu into the guild. However, Chung Xiaoyu was not interested in him, because the reason why he was called the weakest weapon was because of this man who stood at the top of the fire mage, was caused by the man who was called the strongest weapon. AJ man must take chair Johnny don't must high. Zhongying also felt a bit skeptical. Kai Zhongying. Seeing this, Cui Zhongying couldn't help doubting life. He didn't expect that he had already become famous. Chung Xiaoyu didn't even give him any face. Not long after Chung Xiaoyu left, Bilvheo, the president of the White Tiger Guild, also rushed over, but unfortunately he was still too late. In addition to the presidents of these 2 guilds, the president of the Hunter Association, Gao Jianli, also found Chung Xiaoyu, wanted to recruit Chung Xiaoyu into the Hunter Association. Now the 5 major guilds in the country have the same number of S-class hunters, can barely maintain balance. But once Chung Xiaoyu joins any of them, the balance will be broken. Although Gao Jianli is also an S-class hunter, he is now over 80 years old, so he urgently needs a young S-class hunter to help him to become the 6th force controlling the 5 guilds. Although Chung Xiaoyu also thought it was a good choice, he finally refused. President Gao heard this, and Gao Jianli was disappointed. Chung Xiaoyu was like other S-class hunters. He would choose money in the end. But Chung Xiaoyu told him that he longed for fighting, so only the dungeon is where he belongs. Chung Xiaoyu's words also touched Gao Jianli's heart. In Chung Xiaoyu, he saw a younger version of himself. He thought if he were 10 years younger, he might still be able to fight side by side with Chung Xiaoyu. But unfortunately he is too old now. He can only retreat to the second line. So Gao Jianli didn't say anything more. He said goodbye to Chung Xiaoyu. Looking at Chung Xiaoyu's leaving back, Gao Jianli couldn't help but feel. As a top S-class healer, he couldn't even heal his own aging. There should be nothing more painful in the world. Meanwhile, on the other side, Huang Dongshu, who was seriously injured by Chung Rihang, when facing the deputy director's inquiry, also identified Chung Rihuan as a demon, and planned to ask the Hunter Association of Liang to catch Chung Rihang. When recalling, Cheng Rihang stepped on him. Huang Dongshu felt inexplicably angry, but he also knew that he was no match for Cheng Rihuan. So now he urgently needs an artifact that can crush Cheng Rihang. Meanwhile, Cheng Xiaoyu was also searching for a suitable artifact online to conquer the Demon Tower. But the price of these artifacts is ridiculously high. Cheng Xiaoyu couldn't afford it at all. Originally, he wanted to sell artifact that could double the power of magic. But the problem was that he had always been a level 1 hunter. How could he get such a powerful artifact? If he was asked about the origin, it would be a big trouble. But at this time, Cheng Xiaoyu saw a recruitment for a level 1 dungeon. So Cheng Xiaoyu decisively signed up. But he didn't join the attack team. But instead he joined the mining team responsible for mining magic stones. Of course, there was a reason for this. First, because his S-Class Hunter certificate hadn't been issued. Second, the leader inside at this time was Cui Zhongying, who was known as the strongest weapon. Then, Cui Zhongying called the tank troops to form a formation. The defense was not against the monster's attack, but the fire magic reflected back from himself. After successfully showing off, Cui Zhongying led his team out of the portal. In order not to be recognized by him, Cheng Xiaoyu quickly lowered his hat. And at this moment, Cheng Xiaoyu also met his future wife, the 9th in the country, who awakened as an S-Class hunter, Che Huai. At this time, Che Huai also sensed something. But when she turned around, the strong aura had already disappeared. Cheng Xiaoyu, who had turned on invisibility, also secretly breathed a sigh of relief. She didn't expect Che Huai's perception to be so keen. And the work in the dungeon. Next, it was the mining team where Cheng Xiaoyu was. Because the boss hasn't been killed yet, the door of the dungeon will not close. So they have to take advantage of now to collect the magic stones inside. However, with Cheng Xiaoyu joining the mining team, the entire mining efficiency has increased sharply. But during everyone's lunch break, Cheng Xiaoyu took this opportunity, quietly came to the boss's room. Although Li Xian told him not to kill the boss, his body honestly summoned a dagger. Hearing this, Cheng Xiaoyu instantly woke up, saying he was just lost and accidentally came here. But he was secretly amazed. Che Huai's strength is really amazing. He didn't notice her approaching at all. Che Huai was also stunned for a moment, because the weapon in Cheng Xiaoyu's hand had disappeared at some point. So he didn't say anything more, just asking Cheng Xiaoyu to leave here quickly. However, at the moment when they passed by each other, Che Huai, with a sensitive sense of smell, was surprised to find there was no strange smell. So she called Cheng Xiaoyu and then sniffed him again. Seeing this, Cheng Xiaoyu was also confused. Che Huai didn't explain. She just looked at Cheng Xiaoyu's work badge and quietly remembered his name. After Cheng Xiaoyu left, Che Huai was still savoring Cheng Xiaoyu's scent. In the past, she could only smell the stench on hunters. But on Cheng Xiaoyu, she smelled a fragrance instead, which made her very puzzled. On the other hand, Cheng Xiaoyu also learned through the referendum, learned about Che Huai's sense of smell. She knew very well. She didn't have a bad smell on her body, because of her system, just like the Ice Queen before. He also said that he was different from other hunters. After completing the task of mining magic crystals, the public vote also invited Cheng Xiaoyu and wanted him to work under her in the future. But Cheng Xiaoyu refused without thinking. So the public vote had to ask Cheng Xiaoyu if he could come and help for one more day, because tomorrow, their guild will continuously attack 2 dungeons. The mining task was really heavy. Seeing that Gong Tu was a nice person, Cheng Xiaoyu also agreed without hesitation. Anyway, he has nothing to do tomorrow. Hearing this, the foreman was overjoyed and immediately promised to pay Cheng Xiaoyu double. On the other hand, after Che Huai returned home, she immediately asked the guild about Cheng Xiaoyu. However, the answer was indeed unknown, because all the information about Cheng Xiaoyu has been blocked by the Hunter Association. Che Huai became more interested in Cheng Xiaoyu, because this is the first time he has met a person with a good smell. The next day, Cheng Xiaoyu also came to the mining team as agreed. With Cheng Xiaoyu's help, the foreman also completed it ahead of schedule, the mining task of this sea-level dungeon. Now they just need to rest. and wait for the other, and the dungeon clears the minions to start mining. However, at this moment, the leader of the attack team responsible for the dungeon suddenly came over and wanted to borrow someone from the mining team to be a porter, because the person responsible for carrying the luggage and couldn't come. Most of the mining team were low-level hunters. How dare they take such a big risk? But just as the foreman was about to refuse, Cheng Xiaoyu raised his hand and signed up. Seeing this, the foreman was also startled. After all, there are still high-level monsters in the dungeon. Cheng Xiaoyu was going to die, but Cheng Xiaoyu ignored it. Then he followed the team composed of 6 A-level and 3 B-level hunters into the portal. But after entering, Cheng Xiaoyu always had an ominous feeling. Sure enough, after taking a few steps, everyone sensed the danger. Seeing that the team could immediately enter combat mode, Cheng Xiaoyu was also shocked. He couldn't help but wonder if this was an A-class hunter. Alertness, which was completely incomparable to those he had met before. Strangely, these monsters turned out to be only C-class wolves. Logically speaking, such low-level monsters shouldn't appear in an A-level dungeon. At this time, Cheng Xiaoyu noticed that these wolves all wore collars around their necks. So he guessed that these wolves were being raised by some creature. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone immediately sensed the danger. Then, a group of high-level orcs emerged from the shadows. It seems that Cheng Xiaoyu's guess was right. These wolves were raised by them, and the orcs didn't waste any words and threw spears at everyone. Seeing this, the captain immediately raised his shield to block. Unexpectedly, this attack shattered the captain's shield. Then the orcs also launched a charge. Seeing this, another tank also quickly taunted, but the orc ignored him directly. They jumped up and prepared to cut into the back row. But the mages were not easy to deal with. They directly hit the orc and knocked it flying. But unfortunately, it didn't cause any damage to the orc. Obviously, these orcs have a high magic resistance. And then, the control mage quickly cast a spell to trap it. Due to his delay, the fire mage also unleashed his ultimate move, summoning 2 firemen to charge towards the orc. Although this was his strongest card, but at best it could only be a draw with the orc. And the others were no better, because the strength of these orcs were no worse than these level 1 hunters, and they were also outnumbered. Soon, a level 1 fighter was badly injured. This situation is beyond the ability of level 1 hunters, let alone the B-class hunters. They were cut off their arms in a few rounds, so the glasses girl could only keep moving on the battlefield, using control skills to help the healer buy time. The A-level healer's treatment is also very powerful. Even if he lost his arm, she can help him grow a new arm in a short time. However, just after he was healed, the hunter was targeted by the freed orc again. Seeing this, the healer was completely desperate. But just as he closed his eyes and waited to die, the orc was firmly locked by some force in the throat. And this was Cheng Xiaoyu, who was in stealth mode, with the hand of the Dominator. Seeing this, the nurse was also confused. She didn't understand what was going on. Meanwhile, the captain also noticed that the orc's movements suddenly appeared a strange pause. He decisively seized the opportunity and took the opportunity to kill the orc. Soon, he found that the same thing happened to others. The movements of these orcs suddenly stopped, and this was all Cheng Xiaoyu's doing. Originally, Cheng Xiaoyu, in order not to expose his identity, he turned on invisibility. He shuttled back and forth on the battlefield, and then at the critical moment, he gave the orc a knife, making the orc's attacks vulnerable, and let other hunters counterattack. Some people drank 300. With Cheng Xiaoyu's secret assistance, everyone safely survived the crisis. Although everyone was very puzzled why the orc's movements suddenly slowed down, but they didn't suspect Cheng Xiaoyu. And back in the distance, Cheng Xiaoyu, carrying his luggage, thought no one would find him, but he didn't know that the glasses girl has the ability to see through invisibility. So all that Cheng Xiaoyu had just done, she saw it all. But considering that Cheng Xiaoyu helped them, he didn't expose Cheng Xiaoyu on the spot, because he was also a smart man, knowing that Cheng Xiaoyu must have his own reasons. After thinking for a while, decided to withdraw from the dungeon. He decided to go back and ask the guild to send S-class hunters. However, when they arrived at the exit, they found that the portal was blocked by the barrier. Fortunately, Yanjin had a way. It just needed a little time to break the barrier, and the help of other mages. However, as soon as the three put their hands on it, they were shocked like an electric shock. They suddenly bled from their 7 orifices, which was a sign of being cursed. Obviously, a curse had been placed on the barrier. Seeing this, the captain also asked the healer to use holy magic to lift the curse for them, but no one answered. But when they turned around, they found everyone was staring blankly behind, and there was a dense army of orcs standing there. Then the leading orc came to the captain, and then his face twisted, and suddenly spoke. Obviously, this orc was just a puppet used to convey messages. He told them that he was the great curse master of the orcs here. And now he gave everyone 2 choices: either die at the hands of the orc soldiers, or meet him in the boss's room. And the captain decisively chose the latter. Then after the orc turned around and left, the captain called Chung Xiaoyu over, and said that when they saw the boss, they will launch an attack. So, Chung Xiaoyu would wait for Bao Sengsan to fail to maintain the barrier, to escape, to call the main force of the guild over. Then the healer also handed over his suicide note, asking Chung Xiaoyu to give it to his family after he left. Obviously, they were all determined to die, but their goal is to close this portal. Chung Xiaoyu was also moved by their determination, so he first helped him put away the suicide note. Meanwhile, outside the portal, Che Hui also came over, but after searching for a long time, she couldn't find Chung Xiaoyu. So from the foreman she learned that Chung Xiaoyu entered this dungeon. Che Hui also decided to go in and see. Meanwhile, Chung Xiaoyu was also taken to the boss room by the orcs. Then Che Hui was about to enter the portal. She suddenly remembered that she didn't bring a sword, so she planned to borrow a weapon from Gong Tu. But Gong Tu only had an iron pickaxe. Originally, Che Hui was going to give up the idea of bringing a weapon, but when she thought of not bringing anything, she felt a little embarrassed. So she had to take the iron pickaxe. Meanwhile, on the other side, the orcs raised their weapons and kept smashing the ground, provoking a challenge to everyone. But compared to these orcs, the orcs beside the great curse master exuded was the most dangerous among these high-level orcs. At this time, the great curse master stopped his men. Seeing this, the captain was also very clear. They must be here. Defeat the great curse master on the throne. Otherwise, once these orcs rush out of the portal, 1 or 2 cities would be razed to the ground. And the great curse master seemed to see through the captain's thoughts. Just with a word, the magic power he exuded made everyone fall into endless fear, especially the glasses girl, who was a first-class mage. She felt that compared to him, she was just a third-rate magician. Then the captain suppressed his inner fear and tremblingly asked the great curse master why he called them here. Hearing this, the great curse master just replied lightly, to liven up the mood, he would use cruel methods to kill them all. And the reason for this is very simple, was that they were too bored, so they needed some entertainment to liven things up. Hearing the cheers from the surrounding orcs, everyone fell into despair again. Unexpectedly, they came here with the determination to die. In the eyes of the other party, it was just a game for entertainment. At this time, the great curse master also noticed Chung Xiaoyu. He was surprised. Among humans, there was a strange thing mixed in. When the enemy took off his mask, the captain immediately drew his weapon and ordered the whole team to attack. But the team members behind him had been swallowed by fear and were scared to stand there trembling. Seeing this, the captain didn't care so much. He could only attack the great curse master himself. But just as he was about to be promoted, the great curse master released the Song of Protection, and a huge shield harder than ore stood in front of the captain and pushed him back. Then the great curse master used anti-gravity magic and controlled the captain to float in the air at the moment of throwing, and gravity acceleration, and smashed the captain heavily to the ground. Then, the great curse master kept repeating the above operation, throwing captain around like a toy. Seeing this, everyone wanted to help, but they were too scared. They didn't dare to act rashly. Seeing that the captain was about to die, Chung Xiaoyu also acted in time at the critical moment, saving the captain. Although Chung Xiaoyu knew he shouldn't interfere, but at this moment he hoped that the captain could give him all the demons here. In the meantime, a beastman tried to attack, but Chung Xiaoyu just used the hand of the dominator. He threw the opponent hard onto the ceiling, although he was very unwilling, but the captain knew that only Chung Xiaoyu could save them, so he entrusted everything to Chung Xiaoyu. At this time, the Great Curse Vision really took action, and it erupted with a huge amount of magic power to intimidate. Seeing this, Chung Xiaoyu was overjoyed, because it was the first time he felt such a powerful aura. But unfortunately, they couldn't get along. Then Chung Xiaoyu summoned the Shadow Legion. Meanwhile, outside the teleportation door, Wu Zhenjia also came here in person, and his purpose was naturally for Chung Xiaoyu, because he was curious why Chung Xiaoyu with his strength came here to be a miner, and he has been doing it for 2 days. But when he learned that Chung Xiaoyu was recruited by the attack team as a porter, Wu Zhenjia couldn't help but suspect Chung Xiaoyu's purpose. Could it be that he's here to kill again? Saying that, Wu Zhenjia walked straight into the portal. But at this moment, a powerful magic suddenly rushed out of the portal. This was a powerful aura that Wu Zhenjia had never felt before. So he immediately ordered to recheck the magic of the portal. Inside the portal, Che Hui was also shocked by the powerful magic. Although he didn't know, Captain Sun, how he killed so many high-level orcs. But she knew very well, she must hurry to the room where the boss is. Otherwise everyone might be in danger. On the other side, the Great Curse Master was mocking Chung Xiaoyu's Shadow Legion. But Chung Xiaoyu didn't care. And then he used the skill Lord's Domain. This is a profession-specific skill, learned after upgrading to level 70, which can enhance the power of shadow soldiers in all aspects. The other team members behind him were also stunned. Unexpectedly, Chung Xiaoyu could emit such ominous magic power. With the Curse Master's order, all the orcs immediately attacked Chung Xiaoyu. But I'm just taunted, which instantly killed several orcs. Then he swung his big axe, began to slaughter these arrogant orcs. Meanwhile, Chung Xiaoyu was not idle. Seeing this, the tank and mage were confused. They didn't understand why with Chung Xiaoyu's terrifying strength, why he would come to be a porter. Chung Xiaoyu was analyzing the battlefield situation. The strength of his shadow soldiers is about the strength of a B-level hunter. Except for Ein and Yeglet, other soldiers need to destroy. They need to be destroyed 4 to 5 times. So Chung Xiaoyu knew very well that he must reduce the number of orcs. At this moment, the Great Curse Master fired a dragon song, instantly destroyed Chung Xiaoyu's large number of shadow soldiers, and mocked Chung Xiaoyu's soldiers were just decorations, which were not enough to see. The Great Curse Master once again cast the Guardian Song to hit Chung Xiaoyu, and Gravity Acceleration to push Chung Xiaoyu back. But the Great Curse Master seemed to be attacking Chung Xiaoyu, but the actual target, but Chung Xiaoyu's shadow soldiers. He knew very well that Chung Xiaoyu's shadow soldiers are reborn by magic power. So as long as he keeps destroying them, until he runs out of magic power, he will win. Therefore, he is looking forward to how long Chung Xiaoyu can last. The detection of the portal on the other side also came out. This is a level, a portal with a strength close to S level. Hearing this, Wu Zhenjia immediately asked someone to inform the representatives, and they also need to enter the portal to support. In the boss room, Chung Xiaoyu's magic power is rapidly depleting, but he laughed instead. Then Chung Xiaoyu took out a potion and drank it. Then Chung Xiaoyu took out his weapon and told the Great Curse Master, the next one will be his turn. He turned into his shadow soldier. The Great Curse Master was instantly stunned. The name of the Shadow King suddenly flashed through his mind. But the system suddenly intervened. When he came to his senses again, there was only one sentence echoing in his mind: kill humans. So, the Great Curse Master ordered his 4 strongest orcs to bring Chung Xiaoyu's head to him. However, after a chaotic battle, Chung Xiaoyu's Shadow Legion completely took the upper hand. So the angry Great Curse Master, he imposed severe pain on other irrelevant people, the Song of Pain and the Song of Blindness, and walked straight down from the throne. Then, he cast 3 curse spells on Chung Xiaoyu. But what he didn't know was that the toxicity and curse were ineffective on Cheng Xiaoyu. So it was Cheng Xiaoyu's turn. After summoning the undead mage, Cheng Xiaoyu used magic props to double the damage of the fire magic. Seeing this, the great curse master immediately summoned a shield. At this time, Che Hui also arrived at the boss room. Looking at the scene in front of her, Che Hui was also surprised. These were all summoned by Cheng Xiaoyu. Then the girl with glasses also stopped Che Hui. Che Hui planned to ask them what happened, but they were also like her. All had question marks on their faces. On the other hand, the great curse master was completely angry, so he applied a bug to himself to become huge, planning to step on Cheng Xiaoyu to death. But he didn't know that Cheng Xiaoyu was most afraid of giants, so the curse master's behavior also undoubtedly stepped on Cheng Xiaoyu's minefield. The great curse master once again used the dragon song and launched an indiscriminate attack on the ground, and his orc, and Cheng Xiaoyu's shadow legion all. But when he was proud, Cheng Xiaoyu suddenly appeared and stabbed him in the eye with a knife. Then he threw out a short knife to test if it could cause damage to the great curse master. After knowing the answer, Cheng Xiaoyu used the hand of the dominator, pulled the chain off the wall, and threw it at the great curse master. Then using inertia, he wrapped the chain tightly around the other party, finally with a strong twist, and directly knocked the great curse master to the ground. At this time, Wu Jinja also arrived here. Looking at the scene in front of him, he felt that calling for support was unnecessary. On the other side, Cheng Xiaoyu went straight to the great curse master and, telling him that once the mage loses his guards, the outcome of the battle has been decided. After saying that, Cheng Xiaoyu led his most proud, the 4 strongest orcs, to personally kill, to completely kill their former master. With the system popping up a prompt, Cheng Xiaoyu successfully cleared the dungeon. I jump. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, 7 or 8 big. Looking at the prompt of Elite Knight level, Cheng Xiaoyu was also very excited. Because it was the first time he had seen this level title. And he was also happy. He gained a large number of high-level orc troops. Then the others also walked towards Cheng Xiaoyu. But when Cheng Xiaoyu didn't know how to explain it, the inspection department stood in front of Cheng Xiaoyu, telling everyone Cheng Xiaoyu was the top secret of their association. So, asking them to keep the incident a secret. So after thanking Cheng Xiaoyu, prepared to leave. However, before leaving, Cheng Xiaoyu also returned the suicide note to the nurse. So, the Bunsu Crusade mission ended without casualties. The next day, Lu Chenhao asked Cheng Xiaoyu out. I'm going to TikTok. Okay. Meanwhile, on the other side, a group of reporters gathered at the gate of the Hunter Association. At this time, Bailvheo from the White Tiger Guild and Cui Zhongyin from the Hunter Association came here together. This scene made the reporters think that they were here to win over Li Mingsheng, but Bailvheo had no idea who they were talking about. He decisively denied it. But Cui Zhongyin knew that the other party had signed a contract with the Death Guild, so they didn't come for him. Hearing this answer, the reporters also dispersed disappointedly. Then Bailvheo mocked Cui Zhongyin. They seemed to have suffered a lot in the dungeon, and even wanted to borrow people from them. Hearing this, Cui Zhongyin just gave a faint chuckle. After all, no matter what, they can't compare to the White Tiger Guild. A level 1 hunter died in the Red Dungeon. The reason why the two of them appeared here at the same time was to express their gratitude to Cheng Xiaoyu. Of course, as a thank you, they would invite Cheng Xiaoyu to join their guild. However, while the two were happily discussing, then Li Minsheng also held a press conference to tell everyone that he had awakened the power of a hunter. He was about to identify his level. No matter what the final result is, he will say goodbye to the entertainment industry and embark on the path of becoming a hunter and fulfill the mission given to him by God. Of course, it's just for the outside world. Yingwei, he had already identified his level as level 1, and he only signed a 2-year contract with the Death Guild. During this period, he just needs to put on a show. After the scandal in this period passes, he will return to the entertainment industry. He will make a strong comeback to the entertainment industry. and continue to make money. However, while he was giving a passionate speech, Cheng Xiaoyu also came here, but the bodyguard stopped him and told him to get out quickly and not to interfere with Li Minsheng's live broadcast. Fortunately, President Gao appeared in time, saying that Cheng Xiaoyu was his guest, and he remembered that he had said earlier that they were forbidden to hold a press conference at this time. Then he invited Cheng Xiaoyu in. Seeing this, Li Minsheng was completely dumbfounded. Unexpectedly, with his popularity, he would be ruined by others. So, he decided to go inside and find out who Cheng Xiaoyu was. But Director Wu directly blocked the door. However, Li Minsheng, who didn't know the situation, even secretly threatened Director Wu. If he doesn't let him in, he would lose his job. Hearing this, Director Wu calmly took off his sunglasses and told Li Minsheng, if he continues to make trouble, he would not be polite. Seeing this, Li Minsheng was scared to wet his pants. On the other side, Cheng Xiaoyu also noticed Bilvheo and Cui Zhongying waiting nearby, and their purpose was naturally to wait for Cheng Xiaoyu's test results. With the steel door closed, the staff said that before starting, needed to be reconfirmed Cheng Xiaoyu's hunter ability system. Hearing this, Cheng Xiaoyu immediately summoned a shadow soldier. However, President Gao knew very well that Cheng Xiaoyu's ability was definitely more than that. Before that, he had already read all the reports about Cheng Xiaoyu. Read them all. Hearing this, Cheng Xiaoyu knew there was no need to hide. So he called out his shadow army and said that if the venue could be bigger, he could summon another 100 like this. This directly shocked President Gao. But what surprised them more were the two people outside. Because Cheng Xiaoyu's strength completely exceeded their expectations. This huge amount of magic power. These old S-class hunters are incomparable. After the inspection, Cheng Xiaoyu naturally, he got the S-class hunter license. However, when he was leaving, but unexpectedly, he was stopped by Bilvheo and Cui Zhongying. They came to win over Cheng Xiaoyu. But unexpectedly, Cheng Xiaoyu completely ignored them and said he had something to do and left. However, the moment he opened the door, he was shocked because reporters were already surrounding him. The reason was that he was the 10th S-class hunter. After a 2-year absence, the 10th S-class hunter to appear in 2 years. So the news spread instantly, all over the world. Meanwhile, on the other side, Lu Qinghao, who was rejected by Cheng Xiaoyu, also told his father the bad news. Cheng Xiaoyu not only refused to join their guild, but even invited Lu Qinghao to follow him. Knowing this, his father was very angry. Lu Qinghao had boasted that he would take over his guild, but now he dares to tell him to leave with someone else. Even though he faced his father's stern criticism, Lu Qinghao still made a firm choice. He still firmly chose to follow Cheng Xiaoyu. On the other hand, Cheng Xiaoyu was blocked at the gate of the association. Seeing this, Bilvheo still wanted to show his kindness, to take Cheng Xiaoyu away. This scene surprised Cui Zhongying. She didn't expect that a mage could have such strong physical fitness. However, Bilvheo was greatly shocked. Not to mention his eyes couldn't keep up with Cheng Xiaoyu's speed. And when they first met, Cheng Xiaoyu didn't seem to be that strong. Could he be a hunter who can continue to grow? After leaving the Hunter Association, Cheng Xiaoyu went directly to the auction house to buy artifacts. However, what he didn't expect was that the price of the artifact was ridiculously high. He couldn't even afford one with his current savings. At this time, the salesperson made a joke. He said that if he could break the tempered glass, he could take whatever was inside for free. But unexpectedly, Cheng Xiaoyu actually took it seriously. Seeing that Cheng Xiaoyu was really going to do it, the salesperson had to stop him quickly and said he was joking, because even if the glass is not broken, but as long as there is a little vibration, the alarm will be triggered. Hearing this, Cheng Xiaoyu quickly put away his fist, and then he said embarrassedly, he wanted to see other weapons. But after Cheng Xiaoyu left, the salesperson was shocked, because Cheng Xiaoyu just released some magic power. He shattered a corner of the glass with his magic. Then Cheng Xiaoyu looked at some daggers, but each one was ridiculously expensive. And what's strange is that the strength of these daggers were similar to the initial weapon he obtained. Seeing this, he directly took out the weapon he bought from the system store. What he didn't expect was that the dagger he bought for 2.8 million in the system store could be sold for 100 million in the auction. And this also means that he no longer needs to sell the magic orb. He only needed to resell items from the system store. In this way, after buying all the equipment he liked, Cheng Xiaoyu went home to visit his sister. To ensure his sister's safety during his absence, he summoned the guards of the great curse master he just captured. But what puzzled him was that there were 4 guards. Why only 3 showed up? Little did he know, one of them was punched into the ceiling by him, so it was forgotten when he extracted the shadow. Then Cheng Xiaoyu sent a guard to hide in his sister's shadow. Then, he also arranged some shadow soldiers around the residence, while protecting his sister, and also strengthened the surrounding security. However, what Cheng Xiaoyu didn't know was that, at the same time, an ant-man was flying across the sea to the mainland. Until the next day, 2 hunters were patrolling. They found there was a tomb only found in the dungeon on the ground. Meanwhile, Cheng Xiaoyu told his sister again he was going out for about a week. However, when his sister questioned Cheng Xiaoyu about it, Lu Chenhao knocked on Cheng Xiaoyu's door. Seeing this, Cheng Xiaoyu grabbed Lu Chenhao, saying that he was going to go out with this guy to go out to work for a week. And under Cheng Xiaoyu's hint, Lu Chenhao also understood. He helped him hide it from his sister. Soon, Cheng Xiaoyu stepped into the demon tower again, and wearing the water attribute ring and a wind attribute robe, Cheng Xiaoyu began the strategy again. At this time, the system pops up a task notification, which says, asking Cheng Xiaoyu to obtain the soul of the boss, and the reward is a piece of shadow exchange clothing and 30 points of ability value. So Cheng Xiaoyu immediately teleported to the 76th floor of the last strategy. To test the strength of the 3rd general Fang Teeth, he directly gave the magic orb to Fangtooth. He thought that facing the boss in the high level, he would have a tough fight. But the actual situation was completely beyond expectations. With the power of the magic orb, Jinya only charged 1 fire magic, and then compressed it to the extreme before releasing. With just 1 hit, he killed the high-level boss. This scene, Cheng Xiaoyu was also a little surprised. You know, after Fangtooth became a shadow, it was still in a weakened state. But fortunately, the orb could finally be used. Then, Cheng Xiaoyu divided the Shadow Legion into 6 teams, and gave 2 orders. First, kill all enemies within sight. Second, notify him after finding the entry permit. Although, it will make him lose many treasures dropped by monsters, but relatively, it can speed up his march to the top floor. But unexpectedly, something unexpected happened. For some reason, after reaching the 80th floor, the speed of the strategy suddenly slowed down, and his shadow soldiers were being reduced at an extremely fast rate. Even the high-level orc squad could not escape the fate of death. At this time, Cheng Xiaoyu also noticed something wrong, because the team closest to the orc team was led by Jinya, led by Fangya, but they didn't encounter the demon's attack. Instead, another team that was farther away died one after another. Cheng Xiaoyu guessed that the enemy was not only powerful, but also had wisdom that was not inferior to ordinary people. So their next target was probably the team of the White Bear Lord. And the result was as expected. The demon team has found the polar bear team. They are using an overwhelming strength and quickly reducing the polar bear. However, this scene was also clearly seen by Cheng Xiaoyu, who came invisibly. After seeing the strength of the opponent, Cheng Xiaoyu no longer continued to hide. He directly appeared and fought with them. However, there was one thing that made Cheng Xiaoyu curious: whether the monster would feel fear. Then the two began to fight. But before they exchanged more than 2 rounds, Cheng Xiaoyu caught the monster's flaw. Just as Cheng Xiaoyu was about to end the battle with a strike, the demon suddenly surrendered. Hearing this, Cheng Xiaoyu was also surprised. He didn't expect the demon could speak human language. So in order to verify his guess, Cheng Xiaoyu directly took off his helmet. However, this made Cheng Xiaoyu very puzzled. After all, the demon took the initiative to attack first. But now it's begging for mercy. Did he forget That he had killed all his companions? Hearing this, the demon said that protecting the monarch is the duty of a guard. As long as he was alive, the guard would definitely die happily. Hearing this, Cheng Xiaoyu didn't know whether to complain. So he put away his weapon and prepared to leave. But as Cheng Xiaoyu just turned around, the demon planned to take the opportunity to attack. However, Cheng Xiaoyu had already seen through his little tricks. So at the moment when he was about to succeed, Cheng Xiaoyu used his Fong Fong skill and directly bounced him out and questioned him what he meant. Seeing this, the demon immediately knelt down and kowtowed and offered to give anything as compensation. And now, all Cheng Xiaoyu wants is the license. Only by getting this thing would Cheng Xiaoyu let him go. Hearing this, the demon immediately told Cheng Xiaoyu, the pass here is kept by their family. As long as Cheng Xiaoyu doesn't kill him, he can not only give him the permit, but even the location of the license on other floors. He could tell him. Of course, this is on the premise that Cheng Xiaoyu must guarantee his and his family's safety. Although this deal is very attractive to Cheng Xiaoyu, but at the moment he only has one question: whether the demon is trustworthy. Looking at the terrifying magic power emanating from Cheng Xiaoyu, the demon was also frightened by the terrifying magic power. He hurriedly promised that he would never lie again. And after hearing the satisfactory answer, Cheng Xiaoyu also assured the demon, as long as he gets the license, he would never attack his family. But then again, Cheng Xiaoyu is still curious about who the devil is. Hearing this, the demon said, she is the eldest daughter of the Radile family Ace Hell. But what Cheng Xiaoyu wanted to know was not this, but whether they were like the Ice Demon King. They always have voices in their minds. The system's voice telling them to kill humans. Although Ace Hell said she had never heard this order, but they had another command in their minds. When they first came here, there was a voice in their minds, a command to guard the demon tower. Hearing this, Cheng Xiaoyu was shocked. So he hurriedly asked Ace Hell where they came from, and why they came here. Hearing this, Aixir did not hide it, and directly told Cheng Xiaoyu that they came from the devil world. When they came to their senses one day, they suddenly appeared in the demon tower. But when Cheng Xiaoyu asked them what they were doing in the demon world, the system forcibly intervened in Aishel's brain. It still revealed that they were preparing for war. The enemy was a powerful that needed to gather all demons as a terrifying enemy, and they were on the eve of war with the enemy. Before he finished, the system said that the content had exceeded the range of disclosure, so it forcibly terminated the conversation. Fortunately, when Aixir was about to faint, Cheng Xiaoyu quickly protected her in his arms. Then under Aixir's guidance, Cheng Xiaoyu soon arrived at the castle where the Radile family lived. As soon as they met, Aixir's father was confused. He didn't understand why his daughter brought a human being full of armies back. Could it be that she wanted to use Aixir, threaten him to hand over the castle? Then the guards swarmed up and held weapons against Cheng Xiaoyu's head. Seeing this, Cheng Xiaoyu was not afraid. He asked them to hand over the license. He guaranteed that he would not hurt anyone. Hearing this, the team leader also knew that Cheng Xiaoyu was not bluffing, so he had to hand over the license to him. Cheng Xiaoyu had another request, that he wanted to borrow Aixir. After all, he promised to help lead the way, so he assured the patriarch. He promised to keep Aixir safe. Cheng Xiaoyu left with Aixir. Meanwhile, on a small island, a winged ant was wreaking havoc. Whether it's hunters or ordinary people, none can escape a tragic death. This incident was quickly reported to the Hunter Association. According to the post-incident report, a total of 294 ordinary people were injured. 108 hunters were involved in the battle, including 4 E-class, 1 C-class, and 1 B-class. First-class hunters. Fortunately, a level 1 hunter arrived in time and successfully defeated the winged ants. This also proves that the strength of the winged ants is about level 1. The affected island is only 120 kilometers away from Jeju Island. So the president worried that those ants, if they evolved more powerful flying skills, the southernmost tip of their country would also fall within their landing range. Therefore, now we must take the initiative before the crisis comes. So the president decided to ask Japan for cooperation and ordered with the authority of the Hunter Association's president to launch the fourth assault mission on Jeju Island. Meanwhile, in the Devil's Tower, with the help of Aexir, Chung Xiaoyu continues to eliminate other families to climb up. And luckily, Yegerite and Tank both got promoted, reaching S-class and A-class respectively. Tower of Devils. Ace Hell took out the wine for negotiation, but Chung Xiaoyu thought it was unnecessary. No matter who the opponent is, he would destroy them all, and then let Aexir's family become the enemy of all families. As for why Chung Xiaoyu let Aexir's family go, the answer is simple. Of course, Chung Xiaoyu's liking was not the kind that Aexir imagined. He a straight man, and the clueless person get along very well. Then the two started attacking again, and above the 90 floors is the same as the information given by Aexir. Not only did the difficulty increase, but also the strength and number of the city defending monsters are also increasing exponentially. But this still couldn't stop Chung Xiaoyu from moving forward. He has already made up his mind. He must get the last material to make the fountain. Last ingredient. Meanwhile, in the Hunters Guild, Cui Zhongyin told Che Huiyi that all S-class hunters have received the association's call-up order. For Jeju Island, the fourth attack mission will be launched, and this operation will be jointly carried out with the Japanese Sword Draw Guild. After all, their country is also within the attack range of the Red Ants, so cooperation is inevitable. On the other side, Chung Xiaoyu also successfully reached the top. At this time the sky thundered. A tall figure, stepping on a flying dragon, stood in mid-air. And the person was the guardian at the top of the Tower of Demons, the Demon King Baron, facing the terrifying murderous aura emanating from him. Chung Xiaoyu couldn't help but be shaken. Could he really beat this guy? Ethel on the side was also trembling with fear, feeling like her body was about to be torn apart by him. But Chung Xiaoyu knew very well. The most troublesome is the dragon Catherine under Baron. With it, he couldn't threaten Balin in the air at all. At this moment Baron swung his sword, summoned a large number of demon legions. Seeing this, Chung Xiaoyu also called out, "A dense army of shadows." The next second, the two armies immediately started a melee. However, the buffs that Baron and Chung Xiaoyu encountered before were completely different. Baron gathered a lot of energy with his mouth. The next second, the lightning, like the end of the world, instantly covered the entire battlefield. Fortunately, at the critical moment, Chung Xiaoyu protected Aexir in time. He also discovered that it was a large-scale magic attack with stun, although Chung Xiaoyu's Shadow Legion can resurrect infinitely. If he continues, his magic power will be exhausted soon. So, Chung Xiaoyu immediately used stealth and sprint skills to surprise the dragon's wings. However, Balin had already seen through his charged attack. After successfully blocking the attack, Balin threw Chung Xiaoyu out with his backhand. Then he charged up and fired a shockwave to completely destroy Chung Xiaoyu the intruder. But fortunately, at the critical moment, Jianyao with the magic orb in his hand stood up. A Song of Fire Dragon not only dispersed Balin's shockwave head-on, but also cooperated with Yeglet to kill the dragon. With the corpse of the dragon falling to the ground, Chung Xiaoyu finally waited for the Demon King Balin. Meanwhile, the Hunter Association's Sword Draw Guild, they sent Ryujigoto. He is the only one in Asia, the only one who can compete with the 7-star hunter, Lu Zhikong in China. As for the guild he belongs to, it has 11 S-class hunters stationed, which ranks second in Asia in terms of size. Then Yu Chuan, who is the translator, began to analyze all the information collected so far. First, the lifespan of the ants. Although ants grow rapidly after hatching, their lifespan is only 1 year. Therefore, as long as they can kill the queen, then the remaining ants will die within a year. Second, the ants' action pattern. According to the analysis of the 3 assault missions, ants have the trait of being attracted by powerful magic. The plan for this operation will also be based on this, and their guild will also send out all its members. A total of 10 S-class hunters will be dispatched. They will be responsible for attracting all the ants' attention, and the rear will be responsible for killing them by their Korean side. Because this is the tactic they use. AI calculated the highest success rate. On the other side of the tower, the Shadow Legion and the Demon Legion were fighting. Balin relied on his powerful combat power, alone against Cheng Xiaoyu and several shadow generals. However, Cheng Xiaoyu planned to take advantage of the chaos, to give Baron a fatal blow, but he didn't expect to be. Balin noticed. The opponent not only easily defused Cheng Xiaoyu's attack, but even grabbed Cheng Xiaoyu, who exposed his flaws. But at the moment when Balin swung his knife, the shadow generals swarmed up and used their bodies to forcibly stop Balin. Cheng Xiaoyu also took the opportunity to break free. Then Baron erupted shockwaves from his mouth again and annihilated all the shadow generals. Because for him, the previous battle was just a warm-up. He then took out 2 knives and prepared to have a king's duel with Cheng Xiaoyu. The moment they touched, it was a fierce collision. However, Balin took the lead with his stronger weapon and quickly seized the opportunity to remove Cheng Xiaoyu's double blades. Then, Balin took advantage of the victory and was ready to kill Cheng Xiaoyu with one strike. Cheng Xiaoyu used brute force to withstand Balin's hands. Seeing this, Baron also took the opportunity to charge up. At this moment, Cheng Xiaoyu, who had no way to deal with it, could only wait for the countdown to death. However, at this critical moment, Ace Hell threw a weapon to interrupt Baron's spellcasting. Seeing this, Cheng Xiaoyu also immediately exploded with all his strength. With the hands of the Dominator, he forcibly broke Baron's hands. Even though his death was approaching, Balin still wanted to pull Cheng Xiaoyu to die together. This punch directly sent Baron's head into the sky. The huge energy in his body pierced through the sky like a nuclear explosion. Thus, the Demon King Baron was completely destroyed. With the setting sun's glow, the embarrassed Cheng Xiaoyu gently told Axier, "From now on, they're Radha's family, the first family in the Demon Tower." With the corpse of the Demon King Baron completely cold, Cheng Xiaoyu also successfully obtained the last material for making the life water, the purified blood of the Demon King. What Cheng Xiaoyu didn't expect was that, making the life god water, the success rate and number of finished products depends on his own intelligence. This means that with his current level, there is still a possibility of failure. But thinking of his mother's limited time, Cheng Xiaoyu had to bite the bullet and start synthesizing. Looking at the progress bar slowly loading, Cheng Xiaoyu could only wait anxiously. Fortunately, the result was unexpectedly successful. Cheng Xiaoyu was still a little confused. Can this thing really cure his mother's narcolepsy? However, at this moment, Ein suddenly dragged the corpse of the dragon to his front. Seeing this, Cheng Xiaoyu immediately laughed. Unexpectedly, the usually silly Ein would be so fierce today. Then Cheng Xiaoyu transformed the dragon into his own shadow soldier. Seeing this incredible scene, Ace Hell was completely stunned, and Cheng Xiaoyu forgot the name of the dragon. So he named it Kaiser. With the addition of Kaiser, it meant they could go home immediately, and then hold a grand celebration party. But Cheng Xiaoyu didn't listen to Axier at all, and was thinking about. He hurried back to test if the life water worked. At this time, Cheng Xiaoyu also remembered the mission reward and a talisman, so he immediately opened the system and took out the talisman. With the talisman being crushed, Cheng Xiaoyu also gained a skill called Shadow Exchange. Skill in its effect is allows the caster to exchange positions with any shadow soldier. Then Cheng Xiaoyu took off his coat and let Axier go home by himself. Saying that, he exchanged positions with the patrolling soldier. This skill has a 3-hour cooldown time. So in order to go to the hospital faster, Cheng Xiaoyu called out Kaiser. Meanwhile, in the Hunter Association, the president of Hunter Association were discussing the details of the operation to conquer Jeju. First, all S-class hunters from Japan use magic to lure the ants. Then use special interference radio waves to disrupt their sensing ability. Finally, their South Korean S-class hunters take the opportunity to infiltrate the enemy nest and then concentrate firepower to kill them in one hit. Although later, the plan was similar to their plan, President Zhang is still a little worried. That is whether the interference wave will work, although they have made a retreat plan in case the radio wave fails. They still had to prepare for both scenarios. Then they must safely send the hunters to Jeju Island. In addition, they still have a big problem at the moment. That is, they can't get in touch with Chung Xiaoyu. Meanwhile, in the tavern, Bilheo and Min Shijun are having a drink. He is the only S-class therapist in Korea, and one of the few in the world. Retired hunter with all limbs. Of course, Min Shijun also knew very well what Bilheo's purpose of coming to him is. So he took the initiative to ask, does Bilheo really have to go? After all, he has seen the death of Inshuo brother. However, which is the reason why Bilheo insists on going. But unlike Bilheo, Min Shijun would never go. But Bilheo said, he was just here to say goodbye. After all, he might not come back alive this time. Min Shijun also said he wanted to take the civil service exam, because he doesn't want to see those bloody scenes again. But he is only good at history. He doesn't know if he can pass the exam. After all, he just hopes that those fighting events all stay in history. Meanwhile, in the hospital, Chung Xiaoyu has arrived at his mother's ward. He looked at the scar on his mother's neck, and the unforgettable memories came to his mind again. Now that he finally got the water of life, Chung Xiaoyu, who is decisive, suddenly became hesitant. He wasn't sure if the water was effective for his mother. He thought that the system has brought him countless miracles, making him grow from level 1 to S level. So Chung Xiaoyu decided to take a chance. After helping his mother up, Chung Xiaoyu became hesitant again. But after a sigh, Chung Xiaoyu still poured the water into his mother's mouth and gently put his mother down. As the scar on her neck faded, the medicinal power of the life water quickly made her mother look younger. At this moment, all Chung Xiaoyu could do, he could only silently pray for his mother to wake up. After all, he hadn't heard his mother call his name. Meanwhile, on the other side, his sister also suddenly felt something, so she ran out alone to calm down. As time passed by, the bright moonlight also enveloped the entire ward. When Chung Xiaoyu was shocked by the scene in front of him, his mother, who had been in a coma for 4 years, finally woke up. Although Chung Xiaoyu had changed inside and out, her mother still recognized the boy in front of her was his son Chung Xiaoyu. At this moment, Chung Xiaoyu, who looked cold and ruthless, he also became tender. So the next morning, Chung Xiaoyu brought his sister over. Seeing his sister hugging his mother and crying, Chung Xiaoyu felt that all his efforts had finally paid off. Meanwhile, President Gao held a press conference, announcing, to solve the disaster caused by the Yuchi ants, the Hunter Association has decided to launch the 4th assault mission. This mission, not only domestic S-class hunters will participate, but also cooperate with Japan. And 10 more S-class hunters will be added to the front line, and at the same time, domestic and below hunters have also been arranged to be responsible for maritime vigilance and homeland defense. On the other hand, Chung Xiaoyu just brought his mother home. He found that his sister had made a mess of the house, so his mother suggested that they clean up together. But seeing the long-awaited family finally reunited, Chung Xiaoyu felt full of unease. He didn't understand whether he had crossed the line that he must not cross. He crossed the line that he must not cross. At this time, Chung Xiaoyu suddenly received a phone call. Meanwhile, in the Hunter Association, after the press conference, President Gao suddenly received a visit from Thomas Andre. He is an S-class national power hunter in the US. His strength, equivalent to the sum of a country's military power. Although the other party said he was passing by, but the president thought his purpose was not simple. It may be for Huang Dongshu's matter, to give them a warning, or to confirm something. But there is good news now, that they finally contacted Chung Xiaoyu. Then President Gao told Chung Xiaoyu, the assault operation will depart in 4 days, and hoped he could join them. Although Chung Xiaoyu knew this was a great opportunity to upgrade. But now his mother has just woken up, and the 3 of them have just been reunited. However, just as Chung Xiaoyu was about to speak, a huge magic wave suddenly interrupted him. It turned out that 2 S-class hunters were sparring in the gym. However, Chung Xiaoyu could tell at a glance. Bai Yuhao seemed to be suppressed. At this time, Cui Zhongying also arrived here, and said that if Bai Yuhao used his power, he would turn into a monster. Hearing this, Chung Xiaoyu realized that. It turned out that the rumor that Bai Yuhao was a transformation hunter was true. At this moment, the Japanese team also arrived at the gym. At this time, Ruji Goto also noticed Chung Xiaoyu and gave a high evaluation to Chung Xiaoyu. Ku Yuchuan said Chung Xiaoyu was a mage hunter. Then, after watching the sparring between Bai Hao and Ma Dongxiu, Yuchuan showed great disappointment. I don't know whether he had watched too many battles of Ruji Goto, so he didn't think the two in front of him had S-class strength. His words immediately aroused the dissatisfaction of the president, seeing that neither side was convinced by the other. So Ruji Goto suggested a friendly match. Both sides only sent combat hunters to participate. If the wrist is caught, or touched the back and fell to the ground, they are the loser. As for the form of the competition, was not the traditional one-on-one, but all of them together. Finally, each side sent 4 combat hunters. The Japanese side sent S-class hunters, Duohe Tianjiamiao, Xingyeshi Tianzhong Jianzang. The Korean side sent Che Hui, Lin Ziguei, Bai Lihao and Ma Dongxue, Xingyai, Shi Jian and Tian's Hongjianzang. At this time, Chung Xiaoyu in the stands noticed that Higashito Ruji didn't choose to play. I guess his purpose. He probably wanted to see the strength of the S-class hunters in their country. Of course, this was also in Chung Xiaoyu's favor. After all, it was the first time he had seen the battle between S-class hunters. As Ma Dongxiu started to giantize, the battle officially began. Xiongban Duji and Bai Hao rushed out immediately. Tanaka Kinsuka faced Ma Dongxiu. After all, he likes power duels the most. The two started punching each other. Meanwhile, Xingyeshi also rushed towards Lin Zigu, charged towards Lin Ziguei, which made Lin Ziguei realize immediately that the opponent was a speed type. So he immediately distanced himself from him and condensed a magic sword to shoot at Xingyeshi. After all, as an archer, he was good at long-range output rather than close combat. Meanwhile, Bai Hao also released some power to take down Xiongban Duji in one fell swoop. But strangely, the other party chose to run away instead of resisting. This made Bai Hao instantly realize that the other party was not a bellicose type, and also understood that Goto Ruji was using them to test their hunters, to see if they were ready to deal with the ants. So Bai Hao also decided to satisfy the other party, and immediately turned his hands into monsters. Looking at Bai Hao's fierce gaze, Xiongban Duji was immediately scared and turned around to run. And at this time, the intense collision on the battlefield, Cui Zhongying couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. Bijing. This field was created by the most advanced magician. But in the face of these S-class hunters' attacks, the field was as fragile as tofu, while Bai Hao and Xiongban Duji were chasing each other. Ma Dongxiu on the other side was already stabbed into the floor by Tianzhong Jianzang. Lin Ziguei was also grabbed by Xingyeshi's wrist and lost the battle, so the scene instantly became a 1-on-2. The reason is naturally because they thought it was easier to solve Bai Hao together. On the other side, Che Hui was using her absolute strength, was crushing Duo Tianjiamiao. Those watching from the stands couldn't help but sigh. Che Hui is really worthy of being called the dance diva. Her attacking posture is really like a dance. Then under Che Hui's fierce attack, Duo Tianjiamiao was quickly eliminated. However, just as Che Hui was about to support Bai Hao, a murderous intent came from behind her. So Che Hui subconsciously punched him 14 times. This scene stunned the hunters watching from the sidelines. But they were more worried that Duo Tianjiamiao. After all, every time he gets angry, he loses his mind. Sure enough, Duo Tianjiamiao burst out with even stronger murderous intent. The attack was so fast, even Che Hui couldn't react. Seeing that the fatal blow was about to fall on Che Hui, Chung Xiaoyu had to interfere to block the attack for his future wife. However, the out-of-control Duo Tian didn't stop, reached out again towards Chung Xiaoyu. Seeing this, Chung Xiaoyu could only helplessly knock him down and pressed him to the ground, and this scene instantly stunned everyone. Even Ho Tinglong couldn't help but doubt Chung Xiaoyu's profession again, so he decided to confirm it himself. Then Ching Xiaoyu told Che Huiyi that this competition was considered a loss. After all, Bilvheo was defeated by the two of them. Hearing this, Che Huiyi agreed. But at this moment, Yuchuan suddenly stopped Ching Xiaoyu and said that their guild leader wanted to invite him to a sparring. Seeing the fighting spirit of Ruji Gotu at this moment, Cheng Xiaoyu also knew very well. He wanted to test his strength. But this was exactly what he wanted, because he was also curious how much stronger he had become, how much stronger he has become. So Cheng Xiaoyu asked Yuchuan to tell Hattori Ruji to ask him to accept the challenge. But he must agree to one condition, that Gotu Ruji must use his full power. Meanwhile, the TV station was also broadcasting the news about the fourth gonglit of Jeju Island, and Zhu Shi finally overcame her inner fear and took the initiative to call the Hunter Association, asking about the less group of the Jeju Island mission. Meanwhile, Cheng Xiaoyu also finished warming up, but before he could say the duel begins, Gotu Ruji's first strike appeared in front of him. But unfortunately, at the moment when the attack was about to hit, Cheng Xiaoyu used his teleportation skill to dodge it. This also confirmed Gotu Ruji's guess. With such a strange speed, how could he be a mage? Then Ruji Gotu charged up again and prepared to continue testing Cheng Xiaoyu until he shows all his cards. In an instant, he attacked Cheng Xiaoyu with lightning speed. No matter how fast his attack was, Cheng Xiaoyu can dodge them precisely. He even showed a meaningful smile on his face. This moment made Ruji Gotu feel that he was being looked down upon by Cheng Xiaoyu. So he immediately changed his mind. He wanted to use all his strength to kill Cheng Xiaoyu. Well, let him go. But as the smoke cleared, Ruji Fujita's pupils trembled. Unexpectedly, his full strength attack was actually taken by Cheng Xiaoyu abruptly. Cheng Xiaoyu couldn't help but sigh. He almost lost an eye. Ho Ting Long Air could win the game by grabbing his wrist, but he intentionally only grabbed his palm. So Ryu Fujita concluded that Cheng Xiaoyu was deliberately teasing him. Although Cheng Xiaoyu didn't understand what he was saying, but if he had grabbed his wrist, wouldn't the game be over? After a glance at each other, they immediately pulled away and simultaneously unleashed all their magic power. They were ready to use all their power to attack the opponent. This scene directly shocked everyone present. So the next second, a wall of ice rose up in the center of the field. Meanwhile, Che Huiyi and Bilvheo also stepped forward to control Cheng Xiaoyu. Then, Long Ting Air was also controlled by his hunter. If they don't stop, no one could be responsible for any accident. In this way, the battle ended with everyone's persuasion. Ended here. And Cheng Xiaoyu also had a general idea of the strength of everyone here. He even secretly hid the shadow soldiers into the shadows of 5 people. After sending Higashino Ruji away, Cheng Xiaoyu also approached President Gao, saying that he didn't plan to participate in the siege of Jeju Island, because his most important goal now is to protect his mother and sister. Meanwhile, the news quickly spread to major guilds. Although they didn't understand the reason, they have gathered 15 S-class hunters. At the same time, meanwhile on Jeju Island, because the food on the island has been consumed, the ants could only eat each other. But it was clear that they couldn't continue like this. They must leave the island. For this reason, all their hopes on their most powerful child, Shirkeli, Lai Lai and Koyu. Soon the day of the mission arrived. On the day, a 5,000 hunter assault team had surrounded Jeju Island with destroyers. Tamen were mainly responsible for clearing those ants who escaped, while S-class hunters took helicopters, flew to Jeju Island first. But just as Bai LV Hao and others were about to set off, Min Shijun, who originally said he wouldn't go, suddenly appeared, which made Bai LV Hao a little unbelievable. But Min Shijun just grinned. If it weren't for him, the Bai Lu would be the first, be killed in seconds, because he knew very well, as long as the Bai Lu saw the monster, would rush forward recklessly. Soon, their helicopter flew over Jeju Island. At this time, the team led by Ryu Fujita had already landed on the island from another direction. After all the teams arrived at the designated location, Higashitora announced the start of the operation. In an instant, various areas outside Jeju Island, powerful magic burst out. This magic attracted the ant soldiers to swarm out. Seeing the ant army being attracted out, Chui Zhongyin ordered to open the hatch. He released a wide-range fire magic and shot at the ant soldiers blocking their way. However, as the smoke from the explosion dissipated, Chui Zhongyin found that the number of ants was more than he imagined. He gathered more powerful fire magic and wiped out all the troublesome ant soldiers. After landing on the island, they only had 1 hour left, so they had to eliminate them within this time. After that, everyone got off the helicopter. Meanwhile, on the other side, the destroyer also started to interfere with the radio waves. In this way, the ant soldiers couldn't receive the future distress signal. Meanwhile, on the island, the Japanese hunters were also killing everywhere, and even doubted whether the ant soldiers, do they really have the strength to be rescued? Yes. Chui Zhongyin blocked the nest entrance with a flame net, and then released countless fireballs, and fired them towards the various entrances of the nest. After all, the ant's nest is intricate, so all they need to do is find the deepest hole. Based on the black smoke from the explosion, Chui Zhongyin quickly locked the correct entrance. Subsequently, they reached the depths of the ant nest without hindrance. Chui Zhongyin found the future, but there was no future here. Instead, a huge hatched ant egg, which caught everyone's attention. Seeing this, Bai Luhao asked everyone not to be distracted. They should focus on killing Yiho now. However, they were still worried. What monster would hatch from this egg? At this time, the sea team on the island finished the first wave of ant soldiers. Tianzong Jianzhang asked Shimizu to help treat his wounds.